I've been traveling around recently and the town I'm staying in is pretty spooky. Autumn is here, the leaves are falling, there's a big church in the centre with a graveyard. There's a Burton Drive and I'm loving that as a Tim Burton fan. There are lots of coffee shops and bars decked out in Halloween decor, and it feels like the perfect place for some cozy days spent reading. In the spirit of Halloween, I thought I would try reading horror for the first time and reach for a few different books within this genre to see how scared I can get and to see whether or not horror is for me. Welcome. We are going to read spooky books in this video. I'm actually in England this year, so it definitely feels way more spooky. Did you hear that? I went to check and there was nothing there. So now that we've established that I'm in a haunted house, let's get to reading spooky books. In this book, we are following Paul, who is a famous writer. He gets into a car crash and wakes up in bed with his legs completely shattered. He's in the house of this woman named Annie who claims to be his #1 fan and is basically force-feeding him medication to keep him sedated. It just sounds like she is unhealthily obsessed with him and wants to kidnap him and wants him to write certain novels that he hasn't written maybe. I feel like Stephen King might have put a little bit of himself into this book. Obviously he hasn't been kidnapped, but maybe he's had a lot of requests of what to write, and I'm sure he's received some creepy notes and letters and things in the past. So I'm gonna pick this one up tomorrow. I will update you as I go. It's time. We're about to start reading Misery. I'm so excited. I'm a little bit scared, but I want to be scared, you know? I feel like that will mean that it's a successful read if it freaks me out. So let's get into it. Hello, we're back in London. We're gonna continue the vlog from here. I'm gonna sit here. Is this too close? Ah! I don't have anything technologically advanced. We'll upgrade when the time is right. Let's chat this book. I'm about halfway through, almost. I am kind of avoiding this book, not gonna lie. I know it's the first book in the vlog, so I kind of need to get reading it. But it's just grossing me out. It's really making me feel sick, which I think is like a good thing. But yeah, if I'm in a coffee shop and I'm like eating my snack, and that's when I like to read, you know, and then I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like reading about the disgusting content in this book. I am gonna be alone for a big portion of tonight, so that's probably not the best idea that I've ever had, but I feel like it's starting to get real, you know. I'll update you guys on this book when we sit down to read it later tonight. I'm gonna take myself shopping, and obviously you can't go shopping without ducking into some bookstores, so I'm gonna go into the bookstores. I'm gonna look at the horror section only. Okay, there's like one other book I want to get, but mostly horror. We'll have a look together. I want to pick my next read for this vlog, and I thought it'd be fun to pick up the book here in London. So let's wrap this up. Let's go. Reading Stephen King is like listening to a song by your favorite artist and they just have this lyric and you just think no one has ever put this feeling into words like that person has put it into words. that's how he writes. I did realize that there was a movie with Kathy Bates in it. I love her because I watched American Horror Story when I was a teenager and I loved her in that as well. She's just perfect casting, and now it's like I've cast it in my head. I'm gonna keep reading more of this tonight. I'm on my own for quite a while tonight, so you're gonna have to wish me luck because I'm scared. I'm scared. Please. Good evening. Just pop down here. Felt like sitting on the floor. It's time that I finish this book. I have about, what, like 20 pages left. Let's read. Oh my god, of course.
Paul Sheldon, the writer? Everybody sure likes those misery books. They said he checked out last Tuesday.
I want to show you, but also
This
like,
was kind of a murder.
I feel like I like to envision the characters. I mean, I did talk about Kathy Bates, but yeah, I like to sort of, I like wanted to wait to watch this trailer because I wanted to envision like the house of my own. But it's really cool to see how this director envisioned this world, and I wonder how much involvement Stephen King had in this film. I feel like he has a little bit of beef with some filmmakers. So yeah, I wonder if he had any say or if he like agrees with the way that this is portrayed. But it's pretty spot on to what I envisioned in my head.
Oh, Paul, I've read everything of yours. There's Misery Chastain.
She's so good. Okay, let's chat. I have thoughts, I have opinions. I thought it would be fun to have two separate ratings for the books in this video. One just being a general rating of how much I liked the book, and the other one being a spooky rating, like how scared did I feel when I read it. Super simple concept. Not overcomplicated, but really, really well executed with fleshed out characters. You get the backstories. You really almost realize the characters as Stephen King realizes them. I feel that he definitely inserts himself into the book a lot, into the male protagonist. And I mean, who better to do so? Like, he is an author, and I'm sure a lot of what is written in this book is like thoughts that he has had when it comes to his writing process, the torture of being an artist, writer's block. I just felt that the characters in this book were really real. Even Annie, who is terrifying and feels so unrelatable, at the end, there are humane pieces of her that he scatters throughout the book, and you think, yeah, okay, like, these are real people. The one piece of advice that will lead me into why I didn't love this book is read it quickly. I took a while to read it. I mean, I had a really busy week, but I was just picking it up and reading, 20, 30 pages here and there. Towards the end, I was like, oh my gosh, like, we're picking it up and we're back in the same location, the same house, the same bedroom, with these same people. And I was really struggling to plow through in the last third of the book. Well, it definitely picked up as it does in thrillers, and I was there for it, and I read it a lot quicker. I think just because of the beginning, I was a little bit detached from the characters by the time we got to these high stakes plot points, and I was like, oh, I like the book, I'm interested to see what happens, but do I really, really care about these characters? Like, I'm not super invested. I'm closing the book and I'm not really thinking about it. With that being said, I think I'm going to land on like a 3.5 stars out of 5. Now, how scared did I get reading this book? More than anything, I was just sick. It was gruesome. There was one scene in particular that was really gruesome, and I literally like threw the book across the room. It has that effect, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think I like feeling that way. I personally didn't feel too scared at all during this book. I think we're gonna land on like a 2 out of 5. Yeah, I think different things scare different people. We're gonna have to try something else, aren't we? How gorgeous is this book? This is a complete 180 from what we just read. I have read that this one reads a little bit more like a literary fiction with freakish elements. I've heard that it's a bit of a fever dream. And I'm excited. I'm excited for a book like this. I'm in the mood for this. That's a good place to start, isn't it? Bunny follows Samantha, a girl in a creative writing course at Warren University who despises the privileged, cliquey girls in her class. Nicknamed the Bunnies, these 4 girls slowly suck Samantha into their cult, where we learn the freakish rituals they partake in and where reality starts to blur. The spine of this book is like one of my favorites, and I really didn't want to crack it, but like it's like not a floppy book. I'm not in my home, so finding like the angles to film in this place is really interesting. Let's chat about Bunny. I read it all day yesterday and then I read some this morning, and I'm up to page 205, which is quite fast for me. This book is split into 3 parts. I'm currently reading part 2, but I would say that the first part is very rooted in reality. There are a lot of relatable moments. I personally went to an all-girls high school, so I'm feeling particularly triggered by some of the things that are in this book. It's like very, very recognizable for me. There are actually a couple of reviews on the back which I think describe what I'm trying to say better than I could. One of the most pristine and delightful attacks on popular girls since Clueless made me nod and cackle in terrified recognition. And that is, yeah, that's what's been happening over here. In terms of how scary it is, I think it's scary in a different way. Like it's just really real, but then there are really, really exaggerated moments. And then you kind of realize like, actually that's not far from the truth. This book kind of reminds me of like if Sofia Coppola or like any of the Coppola sisters, I think there's 2, made a film. I don't know if anyone's seen Palo Alto. It has Emma Roberts and James Franco. It's very rooted in reality, but there are just some dreamier elements to it. And that's the kind of setting that I'm picturing when I'm reading this book. I finished Bunny this morning and we have some talking to do. I literally had to take notes. I use Notion to track my reads and my TBR and stuff. I'm just gonna speed through it, but that's why I'm looking down. Before I change my mind, like it was a 5-star read for me. I'm just gonna call it, I'm just gonna say it. A 5-star book and a 5-star film for me is always dependent on 2 things. One is obviously how much I love the characters and the world. The second thing is the ability that a piece of art has to stretch and challenge my mind. I love fluffy stories. I have so many comfort movies, comfort TV shows that I would say are like a 5-star. But books and movies that stretch my mind, books like this, sit on just a whole other playing field for me. Fight Club is one of my favorite films, and the reason for that being I was like screaming at the TV the first time I watched it because my mind was just blown by the direction that the film went. Art that really makes you reflect on your own life and think about things in depth. I mean, obviously there's also art that exists just to comfort and to entertain, and I know that that has its whole other space. Something like this just really, really pleases me to no end. The ending of Bunny is very ambiguous, which I know isn't for everyone, but this is kind of where stretching the brain comes in. The shock factor that I got reading the last probably 25% of this book was just so fun. Piecing together my own theories, trying to figure out what was going to happen next, and then my expectations just being subverted left and right. Like it was truly a roller coaster. Now, because I'm trying to keep this vlog spoiler free, I'm not going to discuss like my specific theories on the ending because I obviously have my own thoughts and theories about how it ended. There are like so many online, so I highly recommend once you've read this book, obviously theorize something for yourself, give yourself the chance to kind of piece it together. I think that's the fun of it, but then dive into like Reddit, all those places. People just pick up things that you miss Some people really catch things, and I was like, oh my goodness, that makes me all the more obsessed with this story. Do you see what I mean by interactive? Like, this is just so fun. I feel like this would be a really fun book club book as well if you have a book club. Now, this isn't a spoiler, but I do want to mention one thing that I really loved about this book. It felt as if the author was speaking to us in certain parts. It was within the story, but it was also beyond the story, particularly when things started to get a little bit crazier. I did tab something that I wanted to read out. I'm gonna skip over like character names and anything that spoils anything, but I'll just read out loosely what the gist of it is. Whenever I read this, I always feel so dumb because I can hardly understand it at all, and then I blame myself. I think this must be just too brilliant for me to grasp. Surely I've missed something, even though there's always been this small voice inside of me that says, what the fuck is this? This makes no sense. And then there's a bunch of stuff, and then she says, I guess what I'm saying is that I understand now. I should have trusted myself as a reader. My instincts as a reader are so valuable. And I just closed the book at that point, and I was like, thank you. Because at this moment in the story, it was getting so crazy that I was like, I get why people have DNF'd this book. People are probably thinking what I'm thinking right now of like, I'm not intelligent enough for this. The author almost reaches out between the pages and says, hey, trust your instincts as a reader. Trust what you think, run with it, and then see where it gets you at the end of the story. Because ultimately, all of my readers are going to come out of this book with different theories, take different things from it. To me, that is just beautiful. Okay, that's about all I have to say about Bunny. It's going to get a 3 on the spooky scale for me. It wasn't scary in a traditional sense at all. There were actually like several moments where I buried my face in my blanket because I knew something was about to happen, something was about to like leap out. So in that way, it was very unsettling and freakish, and yeah, that to me is a horror. I want to see this made into a film. Maybe one directed by David Lynch. I feel like his stuff is so fever dream-esque. There's actually this YouTube short film that I come back to at random points in my life called Rabbits, which is quite funny considering what this book is about. Honestly, if you've read Bunny, just search Rabbits David Lynch on YouTube, watch it. That's like part of what I was picturing when I was picturing these girls hanging out, and just like how deeply unsettling and weird it is. I think it's just perfect. That's all I have to say. Bit of a random collection of thoughts, but I hope that you enjoyed it. We are going to pick our next book now. I am going to pick something a little bit more traditional, a blueprint for horror, if you will, something that really jumps to mind when you think of horror. And I was thinking back to the books that we looked at when we were in London, and I think I'm going to go with The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I'm going to just get it on my Kindle because I obviously don't own it, and start that one tonight. And I think it's pretty short, so we will be able to read it pretty quickly. We're now actually in the week of Halloween, so I'm feeling like I want to read something about a haunted house. I want to like get into those like proper traditional Halloween vibes. So that's going to be the last book for the video, and I will touch base with you when I've read some of it. We are locked and loaded. I've got it on my Kindle. I'm ready to start reading. Well, I've read like one page, and already it just feels so different to what I've been reading. Also, if you're wondering what this like string thing is behind me, I think I mentioned I was at my grandma's place, and they have these all over the house so that if you have a fall or something, like someone can come and help you. Obviously I'm here with her now, but like if they're on their own, so that's why these might be in the background. You're probably thinking like, well, what the heck is that? I keep like trying to exclude it from the shot, but like I just don't care at this point. This is the reality of my life right now. So let's read this book. Let's see how scary I can get. There's also like a golf bag over there. This is it. I am 51% into The Haunting of Hill House. I think I have like 2 hours left, and I love it. For a quick introduction, this is actually a horror classic. I think it was published in 1959. and it acted as the blueprint for a lot of haunted house stories that came after that. So I'm keeping that in mind going into it, because I think if I didn't know that, I might think that certain things in this book were a little bit cliche, but I can only say that because I have consumed so much content since this book was published, and this is an OG. For a brief synopsis, we are following 4 characters who have arrived at Hill House, which is an infamously haunted house that's been around for, I think, 80 years now. We have a scholar, Dr. Montague, who basically wants to carry out a series of experiments in the house to see if this haunting is real, and to do that he needs to obviously stay there for X amount of time. He ends up with a team of 4, as I said. There's 2 women who are very different. They have very different backstories and personalities, but they're super cute. I love their friendship at the moment. And then we have Luke, whose family actually owns the house, and he will eventually inherit it himself. This is a really short book. It only took me a few hours to get to the halfway mark, and at the moment nothing too crazy has happened, but I feel like we are teetering on the edge. There is a lot of foreshadowing happening at the moment, which I love. I think the characters are all really, really lovable as well. Like, I love all 4 of the characters. I just want to sit by the fireplace with them all and play games, and they all have little quirks that you learn about, and it's quite impressive that she's able to do that in such a short number of pages. I feel very fond of them, and I just want to stay in the world with them, which is just such a nice thing to feel. I am scared as to what is going to happen to these precious people, but I guess we will find out. Also, I'm just picturing the Monster House, that animated film. I used to watch that every year with my cousins, even though it used to scare the living daylights out of us, but we just used to keep watching it. I know it's animated, but that's the house that I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of the house, and that house terrifies me. I'm gonna put on my haunted house music and finish this book, I think. I found one that's from Disney. It goes for 2 hours, and 2 hours. Let's see if we can do it. This is getting scary. We have exactly 1 hour left, and I'm quite pleased with myself. Have you seen that? I'm gonna find something else now though, because this is getting so repetitive. Let's give this live video a go. I fear that I can't move. The closet is open. I don't want to get up and close it. I'm not even doing this for like dramatic effect. I feel like my skin is prickling. And there's people in the house with me. There's people downstairs. Wait, I did not think I would actually get scared by this book. And this bloody music isn't helping. I should probably turn it off, but I'm trying to get the maximum effect, you know? Hello, I am checking in to this reading vlog for one final time. As you saw, I was reading The Haunting of Hill House last night, and we did actually finish that one. It was just really late when I finished it and I like passed out, so I really loved it. Everything that I said still stands. I loved the characters, I loved the writing style. I think like after I spoke to you, there were a couple of characters that were introduced that I felt like weren't super instrumental to the plot, and maybe we could have done without them. And I also wasn't super satisfied by the way that things wrapped up. I think that I just wanted to stay in the ending a little bit longer. For that reason, I'm going to give it a 4-star because I did really love it despite those things, and I would highly recommend it for any spooky fall time, even wintertime reading. It's just super cozy, super creepy. I'm also going to give it a 4-star on the spooky rating as well. I was really scared by this book, as you saw. I think I filmed the moments that I was the most scared, and I honestly felt like there was someone behind me. My skin was crawling. I didn't want to move or get up, and I've never had a book made me feel like that before, so I'm like so happy that I got that experience, especially in this video as a first-time horror reader. That was like exactly what I wanted. After I spoke to you, the book definitely started to get more psychological, which is terrifying in its own way, but it's a little bit less of like there's someone behind you or I can't sleep at night and traditional in that way, and it turns into more of a almost psychological thriller kind of vibe. As I told you, I passed out, I was able to sleep okay. I haven't really thought about it after reading it in terms of being scared. So I'm yet to find a book that does that for me. If you have any horror recommendations, let me know. And I think it's about time for a quick wrap up of what we read in this video. So we read 3 books in this video, and obviously the one on Kindle as well. We read Stephen King's Misery. We read Bunny by Mona Awad, and then we obviously read Shirley Jackson's Hill House. Misery got a 3.5 stars from me. Bunny was a 5-star and Hill House was a 4-star. For scary, Hill House was definitely the worst. And then I want to say Bunny got me the most, and then this one last. This one, like I said at the start, was just more gross to me than scary. And then this one was definitely more weird than scary, and Hill House was more classic Halloween vibes. So yeah, this video has been a really fun experiment for me. I love horror. I want to read more horror, and I'm so happy that I tried a new genre of book as well. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching to the end. I know that it's a long video, but I just wanted to include all of my thoughts so that you could figure out if these books are for you and maybe feel inspired to pick up a horror book in the future. And I think that is about all from me. I'm definitely going to be making more book videos in the future, among other things. So if you liked this video, subscribe and stick around, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.